Good morning, I'm Eddie Trunk, and it's great to be here with you guys, Monsters of Rock Cruise. Hope you're all having a great time. And something really cool about these cruises is a chance to sort of do some Q&As with the artists and meet them and ask them some questions and stuff. People say all the time when I tell them about these cruises, they're like, you get to meet the guys, you get to ask them questions, you get to hang out with them, and for a lot of them you do, and that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage a guy that I actually just spent some time with, had him on my radio show not too long ago, and he's here with his artwork and all the other great things he's doing that I'll tell you about in just a second. Please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Allen. How many people went and bought up all of Rick's art on the ship already? Every single painting was gone. I sold out. Good morning, Rick. How you feeling?
No, not too bad. A little rough this morning.
I saw Rick yesterday. I said, "You really want to do this at 10 a.m.?" Yeah, I'll be fine. I wake up early. You usually get up early?
No. I don't think I had a choice today.
I was hoping we would have moved it to noon or something, but it's your gig. So here we are. We're up. We're at it. And welcome. How's things going with the artwork, man?
It's actually going really well. People respond really well to it. And then when they realise that a portion of the proceeds go towards programs for our wounded warriors, then they're all in. So it's another outlet. And it's a lot less physical than playing drums, I'll tell you.
Can you talk and tell everybody a little bit about the charitable aspects of the art? Because, as you mentioned, wounded warriors and post-traumatic stress and things like that. Talk about how you tied that into the art and why you chose that as a charitable portion of what you do.
Well, during sort of my recovery time, can everybody hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
During my recovery time, sort of right after the accident, at that moment, I didn't want to continue with my career until I got really sort of withdrawn. And on the face of it, it was a terrible thing, but it actually became a huge blessing in my life. And I think one of the biggest mistakes was that I didn't go and get any kind of rehab or I just thought I'll throw myself straight back into my work, and that's exactly what I did. I went back and joined up with Leppard we were in Holland at the time recording Hysteria, and I threw myself back into my work, and things started to come up for me, just different things about my personality, and I think it was then that I realized that extreme trauma doesn't necessarily just affect our warriors. I always say we're all traumatized in some shape or form, just some of us more than others. It could be, an alcoholic background, abusive relationships, you name it. And all of those things can affect us in really deep ways. So when I started getting to know some of our warriors, it was then that I realized that they were speaking the same language as me. They understood about trauma and PTSD and self-medication. All these things went into somewhat of a downward spiral for me. And getting involved and being of service really helped me and created this wonderful two-way street where, I would share some of my experience of how I dealt with it, that they could do that with me as well. And it really started to rub off in a very positive way. So around about 2000, we put myself and my wife, we put Raven Drum together, and which is my charity, and that was a huge part of my recovery. It was really just giving back and being a part of, being active in helping others, and it really helped me. So that's kind of, and that still exists today, and I'm really thankful, for that kind of work.
Well, you can see some of Rick's art because he has it right here on the ship, and you just heard about the charitable angle. Where's the actual venue where people can go to see the artwork here in the ship? What's it called again? Somebody just told me.
Connoisseur Club. Connoisseur Club.
Connoisseur Lounge?
Oh,
Connoisseur Club.
Connoisseur Club.
Okay, so for people, clearly some people have been there already. For those that haven't, that's where you can see Rick's art, which is on display. And you're hanging out there as well, right? I mean, that's kind of like your home base on the ship. Most of the time people come in there, they'll see you and see the art.
That's why I feel a little crisp around the edges today. I got Brian came up, Brian Week. I've known Tesla since 1987. In fact, those guys, they were the first band to play in the round because they were opening up for us.
Right. It's territory, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so our history goes back a long ways. And I know too much about them. And they know way too much about me, so,
Brian starts holding court, it could be a long night, too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then Troy came up, so it's, I've been made to feel very welcome, here on the boat, and it's really an interesting angle, not being with Def Leppard and having that sort of security blanket.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this backstage before we came out. Of course, I don't know if anybody here in the room was on it, but we were both on it. There was a Def Leppard cruise not too long ago. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple Def Leppard cruise shirts out there. Maybe collector's items.
It was a little odd, but we did the best we could, and everybody on the boat really stepped up. All the other bands stepped up. We were just talking about that, how everybody helped Joe out, and obviously, with Jimmy Bain, Yeah, it was.
And the weather, you can't do anything about. Weather's hit or miss on any cruise, anytime you go. That's the one thing you can't control, is weather. So.
It's true. And this morning when I woke up, it was like I felt that feeling again. It was like.
Always blame it on the ship moving, not what he was doing in his gallery with speaking of the Tesla guys, I know you jammed with them yesterday, and you played a little bit with them up here.
Yeah, it was great.
A little kid setup over there, right?
Yeah, it was so much fun. As I say, our history goes back a long way, and their songs are in my DNA. I've heard them so often.
Yeah.
And great songwriters, lovely bunch of guys. So it was great that they invited me up.
When I saw that kid set up and you were going to go over there and play, I was curious, how long has it been or how often do you play drums that aren't enhanced with electronics?
Well, I grew up playing acoustic drums, and that was what ignited my passion in the first place. So they're never very far away. I always have an acoustic kit set up. So and it's more convenient. You know what I mean? It's an easy setup. I save the Ferrari for when I go out with Def Leppard.
And of course, speaking of going out with Def Leppard, I'm sure everybody in this room knows that it's been announced that the mega tour coming up with Def Leppard and Journey. Rick was on my radio show like 2 days before the tour was announced, and we couldn't talk about it.
I was itching to tell you.
I knew it. And then 2 days later, Joe came on, and I said, Rick was just here. He couldn't say it. He goes, I know. Yeah. I said, okay. They always let the singer deliver the big news.
Exactly. But the whole time I was on the show, I was getting text messages from Mike Kobayashi, our manager, and he's like, don't you dare say it.
I was getting the same text messages from people, don't you dare say it. So now it's out, the cat's out of the bag, and you got to be looking forward to that. You know, all amazing indoor arenas, even a few stadiums. I mean, that's pretty amazing. You got to feel great about that one coming up, huh?
Well, at this point in my career, I'm just, maybe it's because we're on the endangered species list or something. I don't know, but we seem busier now than we've ever been.
But I think that's a really important note because Def Leppard, I mean, people kind of forget when this backlash to 80s music happened. It wiped out everybody. It doesn't matter if they were smaller bands or bigger bands like Def Leppard. They all had to work to recover. And you guys really have put a tremendous amount of work into rebuilding the band. Well, I can only speak for America. I know Def Leppard globally is huge. But here in America, I've always admired the amount of work you guys have put in. Going out every summer, different packages, aligning yourself with different bands to go out and play with. It's really been a very slow but steady and very fruitful rebuilding process to where you are now, right?
Yeah, and I think, may he rest in peace, but Howard Kaufman was very instrumental.
Your manager for many years, yeah.
Yeah. He died, he passed away a couple of years ago, and I think he was very instrumental in building that momentum. But interestingly enough, going back to what you were saying, that it destroyed a lot of rock bands. That was when we created Slam, which actually ended up being one of my favorite records.
I like that record as well.
I like that record.
I really do as well. Awesome. I mean, that's one of, every band has that, like, sort of little anomaly record in their catalog where most people, don't, they kind of look down on it and forget about that one, or that was a misstep or whatever. That is the record in Def Leppard's catalog that kind of has that on it, but there are people that are fans of it, like myself and you as well. And actually, there was a real, I have a 3-4 disc special edition a few years ago that came out. But that first single, Work It Out, that was a great track, and I thought it was very cool. It definitely wasn't Def Leppard grunge, but it was a little different, that's all.
I think so. A little less melodic, and maybe the direction that we may have gone in had we not worked with, say, Mutt Lange. It was a little more raw. But I enjoyed the sound of Def Leppard, in that form. It was cool.
Yeah. We're going to take questions from the audience because that's what we're here to do, so we will involve you. There is a mic somewhere in the crowd, they told me. We do have an audience mic somewhere, right?
Maybe I could ask you questions.
Do we have a mic, Steve? No? We got one. Even if it's a wireless, maybe we can pass it around. While they're looking for the mic, Rick, one more thing on the tour coming up. Of course, you guys toured with Journey once before. What was it, about 10 years ago, right?
When was that? 2006?
Probably 2006. Was it 06?
And that was with, who was the singer at that time?
Well, Steve Algieri started, and then Just Solo came in, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. It was a great experience. And, Dean was playing drums in that
That's right,
well.
yeah.
But really talented bunch of guys. I mean, to go on stage after those guys have been on those songs are huge,
This time around, you guys, how do you decide who closes the show? You flipping a coin every night, or what are you doing?
I think certain territories, it's obvious, that they're probably a little stronger than we are, but it was pretty amicable. Everybody was like, let's just figure it out the best we can, with a little bit of logic involved, and I think it's good doing the flip flop,
You know what I'm going to do, because it doesn't look like we have a mic. So, do you have a mic, John?
No, but I can.
Well, you know what? I'll just come down there. There we go. I'll just walk around and see questions for Rick Allen and.
No microphone? Singer's worst nightmare.
I feel like I'm hosting a game show or something here,
Come on down, Eddie.
Behind door number 1 or door number 2? Which one? Watch out. Who's got a question first up? Here we go. What's your name and where are you from, sir?
Derek from Tucson, Arizona.
And what's fire away, Rick?
Rick, what would it take to get Def Leppard to do something in the round again?
We've discussed it, and it was something that was kind of unique. you know, for a band to do. And on part of the last tour, the ticket sales were so good that it was like, you know what, we should do that again. But obviously, a situation like with us and Journey would be more difficult, you know, because they obviously want to do their show in a certain way. And playing in the round was really challenging. As I suggested in the beginning, you know, Tesla were like, you know, it was so alien to them when they first got on that stage, but they soon warmed to it. So I think at some point in the future, I think we would do that. Full Front Rows is fantastic.
Did you like it, Rick, from a playing standpoint? Did you like it as the person on the stage, one of the performers? Or you prefer the traditional setup?
I actually really enjoyed it, and it was a different way of presenting the band, and I mean a lot more physical, you know, for the guys, because you know they're obviously, you know, entertaining, you know, 4 front rows. No, the thing that got to me was that drum riser. You know, every time that thing went up, Sav used to stand behind me with his back to me, and as the riser got higher and higher and higher, he would push further and further into me, to the point where I was like crouched over. Yeah, like, Sav, give me some room here. You know? But it was fun. I'd definitely do it again.
And who else has got a question for Rick?
Thank you.
Here you go.
Charles Hunter from St. Albans, Vermont. Good to see you, Rick. This tour with Journey, which is going to be phenomenal, we've already got tickets for a couple of the shows. Do you think there's any chance of any on-stage collaboration with any of the Journey guys during the tour?
I know Phil actually did a show with Neil recently, with the G3 thing that he's doing at the moment. So maybe that's sort of planted a seed, but you know, it really depends on logistics. You know, we're trying to cram in as much music as we possibly can, and you know, time is kind of tight when you're doing a show like that. But as I say, I think that seed has already been planted. You know, so that'll be really fun.
And that's one of the things I know when Joe was on with Neil to promote the tour on my shows. He said that really cool thing about this is that both bands are going to be playing full sets, so there's no third act, except for in the stadiums you've said.
I believe so, yeah.
But in the arenas, the bulk of the tour, it's just the 2 bands, so that both bands can play a full 90, 100-minute set, which I think is really cool. So
yeah, I think it's important to do that, because we always feel as though, you know, 90 minutes is a little, sometimes it feels a little short. You know, we'd like to play as many songs as we possibly can, you know.
do you have a question?
I do, yeah.
She's wearing the cover of my favorite Def Leppard album, High and Dry, so she absolutely has to ask a question. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, just wondering, any plans to do Viva Pyromania in Vegas?
After we did Viva Hysteria, things got really busy for us. So we kind of felt as though we needed to get out there as opposed to doing, you know, a residency. Even though I really enjoyed the residency, the whole concept of, you know, people coming to us rather than us going to them, it was actually really fun. But the good thing about a situation like that is I don't think it's necessarily going to go away. It's something that we could always go and do. But I don't see that really in the foreseeable future, you know.
Viva High and Dry ever? I'll be front row anywhere in the world, man. I'm such a geek. I'm backstage talking to Rick. I'm like, you know, maybe do Satellite when the walls come tumbling down. I gotta talk through the night.
That's a blast from the past.
Anybody else?
Hi, Rick. My name is Dawn Jorgensen from Sumter, South Carolina.
Cool.
I was just wondering, we're going to add any songs that, like, we haven't played in a while?
Any songs that we haven't? Yes, there will.